everybody. Thank you
Hello.
all so much for joining us. It's going to be a fun day. So last week we talked all about tomatoes, but we were talking at the end and we were asking you guys for suggestions and we got a lot of great suggestions, but I feel like everybody's was kind of just all over the board and everybody had questions in various places. So we thought what better to do than this week is to just hang out and answer questions and just kind of chat gardening and yeah.
Yeah, so join the chat. Whatever gardening questions you have, throw them into the chat. We'll answer as many as we can today, and we're just kind of hang out and talk about our gardens a little bit. And feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you're new here. We do these live streams every Tuesday, um, and usually we have some sort of a topic that we cover. But today it's kind of a free for all. We feel like the past few weeks there've been a lot of questions we haven't been able to get to, so we want to dedicate some time to been able to focus on just your questions today. So if you are new to our channel, we are Dell and Carrie Spoonmore, the creators of the Seed to Spoon gardening app. So I'm sure that if you're here, it's probably because you got a notification that brought you into here from the app. So you already know about it. But if not, we started building our gardens back in 2015 when we lived in the city, and we converted our entire backyard over into gardens. And I'm pretty obsessive, and I'm autistic, and I get obsessed with things. And gardening was my thing, and I've worked around software development my whole career, and I knew that there could be an app that would make this whole process easier. So that's kind of where the idea for the app came from, and that's where it started, and that's still what drives it today, is trying to make it easy for other people to grow food. So we do these live streams every week, and happy to be here and answering your questions today. So I know we got some questions from last week that we weren't able to get to that we were going to go ahead and pull up as well, but we also do a contest that I want to make sure we talk about here. So every week we give away a free premium subscription to our app, and that gives you unlimited plant identification and bug identification. It gives you free shipping on all of your orders through Park Seed, and it gives you full use of the app with unlimited plants and everything. So we're going to be giving away one of those today, and then we're also going to be giving away one next week from someone that's watching this after the fact. So every week we do a giveaway that's live during real time, and then if you're watching this after it's posted and recorded, you got a whole other week to comment there to be entered to win. And then we will announce that at the beginning of next week, just like we're going to announce now. So, Gary, you got a winner from last week's contest?
I do have a winner from last week's contest. So we had quite a few people watch after the fact and leave comments and had questions and all of that. So here, let's see, we have a winner right here. So congratulations to Sherry. So this was her comment. Said, I heard taking off bottom leaves of tomatoes lets air through and it helps keep disease away. Do you all do this and what's your opinion? So I figured that would be a great way to start off today is answering our winner from last week's question.
Yeah. So, do you mean to take this one, Carrie?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So yes, we do that for a number of reasons. So what she's talking about is pretty much pruning, not pruning. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather today, and my brain is not operating 100%, so I'm not going to be finding all the right words. We trim off all of the bottom leaves from our tomatoes for a couple of different reasons. Number one is the airflow reason that she mentioned, but really the most important reason is we don't want any dirt to splash up on the leaves of the tomato plant, because that is one of the primary ways that diseases um, move throughout from the soil into your plants. So that's one of the reasons why we're going to be trimming everything off, like the first, like a foot and a half up from the ground, and then using a lot of mulch around our tomatoes too to help with that as well. So definitely a good idea. Now we're not going to be doing this until like the plant is developed. Like I'm not pruning it like immediately. Obviously, I'm waiting until it gets 3 or 4 feet tall, and then I'll start doing all this because it needs those leaves in the beginning to start growing. We are careful about making sure the leaves never touch the ground, though. Like from the time we plant, we'll trim everything off to make sure that it's never touching the ground from the beginning. So,
Yes. Yeah. And related to this question, we did have another one come up. Should you prune bottom leaves for plants other than tomatoes too?
We will on like zucchini and stuff. We will start to prune the leaves after they start to die off. And that will also just eliminate some of that habitat. Like with our zucchini, we like to grow it vertically up against a T-post. And then that makes it to where it's a lot harder for the bugs to hide around the base of the zucchini plant. So that's one of the reasons why we will trim the bottom leaves off of those. Um, Carrie, what else am I not thinking of?
Maybe like peppers.
Yeah,
Um,
same thing. Pretty much like we really don't want leaves to be touching the dirt on anything like that. Now, obviously, on lettuce, the leaves are going to touch the dirt. That's how lettuce works. But on all of these other types of plants like that, we're trying not to let the leaves touch the dirt on all the nightshades and stuff like that, especially like tomatoes
yeah.
and peppers.
What about with Brussels sprouts? I actually don't know this question. Do
Yeah,
you?
we are. I will be 100% transparent here. We are not Brussels sprout experts because it's very difficult to grow them in Oklahoma. You need a long growing season, and we do not have that. So I think I remember seeing that too, where a lot of people, like when I see people growing Brussels sprouts, a lot of times they are trimmed off in the bottom, and it's kind of like in that like one kind of stalk pattern. But
So I pulled up Robot in the Seed to Spoon app. So it says, yes, pruning the bottom leaves of Brussels sprouts can be beneficial. So yes, it helps with same reasons, improves air circulation, reduces the risk of fungal diseases. So yep,
thanks, Growbot.
I know. Robot's so helpful. I know. And like I said, like we don't know everything too. So that's why it's helpful to have Robot right there
Yes,
too.
photo features, being able to take a picture of something and identify what it is, or that's like with sprouts and things like that.
Hmm. Okay. So what soil should I use for starting seeds? So there's a bunch of different options that you can do here. Sorry, hopefully not to overwhelm you. I know you're a newbie. um, so I do myself, if I can come over this way, I use the Park Seed Biodome a lot. So in here, it's actually a soilless system right there. And they're just like these little sponges that are inside of there. Super easy. It literally is like effortless, mess free, very easy to use. So I would definitely recommend doing something like that if you are just getting started and you want to make sure that you have success. Very, very easy to do. Um, if you have trays and things like that you're wanting to do, there's two things that I would recommend depending on how far you want to do this. So there's Espoma. Well, yep. Wow, you read my mind there, Dale. Wow.
I know.
There's this Espoma seed starting mix right here that I'd recommend. Very easy to use, of course, because it's bagged soil. So right here, you would just take it out, moisten it, put it into your trays or whatever it is that you're going to be growing in. That works perfect. Another thing that you can do is a mixture of some coconut coir and vermiculite together. I do a mixture of those together quite a bit, and that works really good for me too. Um, it also just depends on like what scale you're going to be doing, like if you're doing a lot of things and all of that. So there's a bunch of different options right there for you.
You'll save a lot of money by making it yourself, but you may also introduce in some complexities. So, like Carrie said, the biodome is going to be the easiest way to go. And then after that, it's going to be buying the seed starter mix because that's already sterilized and already good to go. You need to be a little more careful with seed starting than with planting stuff outdoors. Just you want to make sure you're dealing with sterile equipment and all that kind of stuff. So that's why
Hmm.
going with something that's either bagged or, I mean, if you're making it yourself from a big bag of coconut coir and vermiculite, that's going to be pretty sterile too. So we try not to reuse seed starting mix from year to year is the big thing. We're always starting with something fresh because it just deal with all the
Yeah,
others.
I will say we learned that the first year, well, technically the second year, because we did try to reuse and we had so many issues. And we were like, this went so well for us last year. What happened? And this was our second year doing it. And we ended up discovering that it was because we had reused the same soil without cleaning it or doing anything like that. And we had like fungus issues, like so many issues. So I mean, there are things that you can do and you can reuse it if you like bake it in the oven and get rid of things like that. But then, I
Uh,
mean,
and we
again,
did
that
that. Just
and adds complexity again too. So yeah, I
yeah,
always recommend getting fresh things. It just makes it easier. Or just use the biodome and you don't have to deal with it at all.
yeah. We spent like a whole day baking soil. I don't recommend that. It makes the house smell terrible. It's just it like us. It's I like baking food instead. So
Okay, Tanya says, I have been planting in large containers for a few years with some success, especially when adding basil. Do y'all have better success in ground or in smart pots?
really
Um,
is
what's that?
really depends on what it is. Wouldn't you say, Carrie?
Yes, and also, I mean, I will caveat that by saying we hardly ever plant in ground here too, because our ground is very clay, and eh, our things do not do well here in the ground. Now we do have like some wooden raised beds and things like that we do, but yeah, we plant like pretty much everything in raised beds and in smart pots. We can just control the soil, we can control the compost, and like it just makes it a lot easier. So yeah, we do tend to have better success whenever we are, you know, doing more in like the smart pots and raised beds.
Yeah, and especially for some things like for tomatoes and peppers, I really don't want to grow them any other way than in a smart pot for a number of reasons. Number one, they're gonna do better than we found in raised beds. Um, Also, the fact that they're portable is really the big thing. So early in the season, we can take them outside when it's nice, bring them back in when it's really cool at night. We can start
Hmm.
them being outside. If there's a hailstorm coming, I can go grab them and pull them inside. There's a lot of things like that that we can do with them. So I really prefer for pretty much all my tomatoes and peppers, we're growing those in smart pots. And then once we get into our greens and things like that, that's where we're growing in more of our raised beds or things like that because we're trying to grow on a large scale where I want like a 4x8 of nothing but spinach or something like that. Or
Yeah.
something like corn, we're going to grow directly in the ground. That would probably be, or probably in a raised bed. When I say in the ground, I'm talking about a raised bed. We're never really going to do directly in the ground unless it's a blackberry bush. Excuse me. Or something that's like native to here. But we have such issues with flooding and everything else
Yes.
that nature can throw at us we've dealt with here. So try and do everything we can to
Yeah,
have
well,
success.
last year, I don't know if any of you were following us last year. I think it was April. We had literally, it was the wettest April that we had had in history. And it was like, we literally had a flood just raging through our garden. I mean, if you missed those videos, you need to go back and check because it was insane. But luckily, everything that we had planted in our raised beds and in our smart pots were all just fine because the water just rushed right past it. And everything that was in ground, though, on the other hand, was washed away. But we did end up because we had planted zinnia seeds, like to have a wildflower patch. So it was kind of cool too because we had zinnia seeds, like zinnia sprouts, like everywhere along that path. And so it did like take the seeds and like they germinated other places. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, definitely love having things in smart pots for lots of reasons. Okay. Any suggestions on improving germinations of direct sow seeds? So it depends on what seeds you are going to be direct sowing. So if it is things like peas, I would recommend um, trying to put them in water and soak them for a little bit before you go out and plant them, because that'll help improve their germination and it'll make them go faster too. Um, but things like if you're going to be direct seeding like lettuce and carrots and things like that, I mean, really the best advice I can give is just do your best to try to keep it moist, not like soggy wet, but just keep them moist while they're germinating. Some things that we've done is put some like a burlap sack over top of things. Like I do that a lot with carrots because carrots can take a while to germinate, and just having them covered too can keep them, keep them moist longer. It keeps the birds out of them, any squirrels, things like that. Um, so I keep a burlap sack over top and I water that burlap sack in. Now, of course, whenever they do start to sprout, you need to make sure you remove that. But that can definitely help to help to keep it moist while it's germinating.
All right, went through and pinned a bunch of questions. So a couple of these let's knock out. What zone are we in? We're in zone 7 in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we forgot to mention that, didn't we?
And then advice on making hanging baskets. I know, Carrie, you've got like a lot of stuff to talk about here with making our own petunia hanging baskets with the system we did in the garage and stuff. So you want to talk about that?
I feel like I could talk about vertical growing and hanging baskets for days. So I will say, if you haven't seen the no cocoa liners too from Smart Pots, those are so cool. I just started growing with them this last year, but it makes it so I don't have to replace those cocoa liners every single season and have them like falling apart on me and all that. Like those things are a lifesaver. So I've been growing a lot more in hanging baskets since last year when I discovered those. Um, so what I do a lot, so what we did last year with our petunias and things like that, I went ahead and started them in my biodome up here. And then once they got a little bit too big for there, I went ahead and I transplanted them into my hanging baskets. And we had like a little like shower rod hanging in our garage, and I would just keep my hanging baskets there, and I had like these little plants just growing in there. And yeah, and I was just watering them until the weather was nice enough to be able to take them out. So that was really fun, having my own hanging baskets inside. I loved that. Besides that, I actually, for the first time last year, tried growing like some food in hanging baskets too. I did some bright light Swiss chard, some really pretty like romaine lettuce and things like that. Mustard greens, some peas too. Just kind of trying to do some unique things in growing like edible but pretty food. So that was super fun too. I don't know what exactly advice you're looking for, but hopefully that gave you some tips and some fun things too. Dale, you're muted if you're talking, but let's see. What's the best irrigation system to use if the water source isn't close?
So I was saying I wish Edwin was on the call for this one from Smart because he came over here and helped us set up a system kind of for this scenario. So IBC totes are your friend here. If you're not familiar with those, they're the big white totes. You can find them on like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. Is Craigslist still a thing? I don't know. But that's where we find them when we were getting them a lot. They're like 250 to 400 gallons, depending on the size. And then you can hook up a water pump to that. So that's a system that will work. You can also, if it's possible to run a hose to that IBC tank, then you could just fill it up, via that way. And then that's gonna be the biggest challenge is how you're gonna get water out to it. That's a system we've used in the past. So that's the best recommendation I've got really if it comes to the water source not being close. But we've had to deal with that in the past.
Yeah. Oh, we need Evan again. What is a smart? Oh,
Oh, we both click a button. So we have not done the winter sowing in water jugs. Not because I don't think it works. I think it does. We just don't really have the need to do it because we have biodomes and all that kind of stuff that we're doing this stuff in. And we also have a sunroom behind me here that we're growing in and that type of thing. So we really don't need to do that. But if I lived in a situation where I didn't have the space for seed starting or I needed to do stuff like that, then I've seen enough from people that I trust to know that it works. But it's just not something we've done ourselves. So if you're not familiar with what we're talking about here, it's basically the idea of taking a milk jug or a water jug, cutting it in half, filling that with soil, planting cold season crops that can handle the cold but still need some help through the really cold months, and then taping that jug back together basically and putting it outside and just kind of watering it as needed and letting it sit there until you get to spring. So that's basically what it is, and it works. So
Yeah, it is really good for those flower seeds and things like that that need the
mm,
cold stratification to be able to pop up in the spring. So that's beneficial for that. But yeah, I've planted a lot of seed or just like thrown seeds out too, and just skipped the water jug part. And yeah.
all right, this was the one you tried to pull before. So
Yeah, I was pulling this up. So smart pots are fabric raised beds that have like all different sizes. I say raised beds, but like literally right here behind me, these are little 1 gallon smart pots behind me. Yeah.
yeah.
And then in this picture, you can see like we have a various sizes of smart pots here. Um, Anywhere from, I mean, these are like 100-gallon sized smart pots. It's just a super easy way to go about starting. Seriously, you just take it, unroll it, add soil, poof, you have a garden. It's amazing. And they have lasted us for so long. We were very skeptical whenever we first started. But I mean, we seriously have some smart pots still out there from when we first started using them. I mean, and that's almost like 10 years now. It's
Mm.
crazy.
Carrie, you want to take this one and show how you do that?
Yeah, how can I save a response from Growbot to my gardens in the app? Oh, great question. Yes. Okay. So right here, if I wanted to add this to a garden note, so say I was asking this because I have Brussels sprouts in my garden, I would just tap this button right here, and I can create a garden plant note. And then it'll pull up, okay, well, what plant do you want to add that to? I do not have any any Brussels sprouts growing, but I'll add it to my cabbage here. So I'll tap the cabbage and it pops in right there. So there we go. So now whenever I go back into here, I don't remember which cabbage I added it to you to.
Oh
Do you remember? Oops.
no.
I think it was this one. There we go. Yes, it was right there. So let me show you again. So you just come into here and I already forgot if that was the right one. That was not the right one. Oh my gosh. I tap into the cabbage. I can scroll down. There it is. So the plants and notes right here. And you can tap it and it gives you that response back. So that it's an easy way to save something, especially like if there's an insect damage or anything like that or something going wrong with your plant. I do like to save my Growbot notes just so I can come back to it and be like, okay, yes, that's what was going on with my plant at that point. Yes, I agree. I absolutely love switching over switching over to raised beds and smart pots. It's definitely a lot easier.
And while we're on Brussels sprouts, I see a question here from Stephanie on Brussels sprouts too. So yes, Brussels sprouts do have a very long growing season. So it's something that you need to start indoors now and then move outside once it's the right time for that. And that's one of the features of the app. That's one of the main reasons why we built the app to begin with, was to show you those dates. So if you go into Brussels sprouts in the app and look at the dates there, then you can follow those. And depending on how soon it gets really hot, like that's the challenge we have, is it gets hot really fast here in Oklahoma. Like it's not out of the question for us to be in the hundreds by the end of May. Um, and we really need to be able to grow into like June in order to be able to grow Brussels sprouts. So some years we can, some years we can't, but we just haven't really tried much recently.
I'll take this question. So I haven't started bunching onions, but I do have some onion. I have some shallots growing right here in my biodome. And yes, they do great. I have them growing right there and they're doing amazing. So, yes.
Question from Bruce here about asparagus. So he ordered asparagus crowns and wanting to know how to make sure that they're going to grow right. So a couple things here. One, dig a trench that's about 6 to 8 inches. Place them down into the trench, but only fill it with like 2 or 3 inches of soil to start. And then as they grow, like continue covering them. Asparagus hate having wet feet, as they call it, so like they don't like sitting in water. So make sure that you're planting in a raised bed. If you have a taller raised bed than other ones, I would go with one of those. If you have a raised bed that has a higher mixture of vermiculite, I would go with one of those. I would just go with your raised bed that has the best drainage, basically. Um, and then don't harvest the first year. Wait until the second or third year to start harvesting. Those are really the main things. The drainage is the biggest issue with asparagus. So, yeah, let us know how it goes, though.
Here, I'll pull up this one. We have so many questions. I know we're both going through. So JC was asking, do you think it's worth planting garlic in spring if you miss doing it in fall? I've never done it before. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would absolutely try to do this if it were me. One thing you can do to help it out is put it into like a gallon size Ziploc baggie with a little bit of soil and put your garlic cloves in there and put it in the fridge for a few weeks and then take it out and plant it. And that'll help it get some cool hours in, especially if you are still not like if you are not super cold still, that'll really help it out.
Question from Jack on fruit trees and chill hours. So, caveat all of this with I've lived in Oklahoma my whole life. I've never been able to live somewhere where I can grow some of these things. So, I'm jealous. But basically, chill hours are the amount of hours that the plant or tree spends below 45 degrees. So that's going to vary for each tree of how many hours it needs of that. Peaches are going to be between like 150 and 300, whereas like blueberries are going to be kind of the same. It's going to be like a mix across different plants, but that's generally range like 150 to 400. So I would just look up like on your specific variety of whatever it is. I would look up the information on that one to see how many chill hours it needs. But I don't know what you would do about it if it doesn't get enough. So I don't really have an answer for what to do if you're
Maybe
not.
somebody in the chat has better experience growing in the winter with some fruit trees. Let's see. We did have a question real quick too from CJ relating to that Growbot sharing. Can you add a note to the whole bed, not just individual veggies? So yes, I wanted to call that out really quick. So yes, there is. Let me go back to where I was. So it was in Growbot here. Here, I'll just tap one of these. So say this one, I wanted to add this into my garden bed. So instead of saying garden plant, you just type in this garden bed and you can come down here. I'll actually add that into my salsa garden right here. And poof, now it is going to be in my salsa garden here. If I come up here to the top for notes, well, it should be there. But maybe I did something wrong. But that's the problem with doing it live, of course. Um, maybe maybe it got added into here. I don't know. I'll take a look at that. Maybe we discovered a bug, but yes, there is supposed to be a way to find it there. Maybe I have two salsa gardens. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yes, there is a way. I do have two salsa gardens. Look at that. That's what happened. Maybe. I don't know. I did it in one and not the other. But, anyways,
Showing live software is always fun.
I know, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Of
Question
course,
from
I have beds named the same and all of that too.
Donna on strawberries. So we have tried starting them from seed. We're not going to do it again because a couple of reasons. Number one, it takes a long time to get fruit from them. Whenever you buy the crowns through Park Seed, those are typically a couple years old, 2 or 3 years old at that point, and they're very far along developed, and you're going to get strawberries that first year. So that's one of the great things about using those. We've tried we did the seeds a couple of years ago, and it was a fun experiment, but they just grow so slow that I just don't have the patience for it. She's typing something.
Oh, sorry. Um, let's see what else we have. Ah, of course, my.
I'll let you all a little behind the scenes. So apparently there's a mouse in our sunroom, like staring Carrie down, like trying to get in.
That's what I was just messaging him because if you notice, like I looked over here because something caught my eye, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's a mouse!" And it's
I
like,
there's
it.
a mouse in that sunroom because we keep getting like some of the top of our plants chewed off and stuff, and I knew it had to be a mouse doing that.
No, I saw it. Luckily, I'm behind the door, but like it was like going like this and like looking inside and then running over to the other side, going like this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just like sitting here like. So that's why I was a little distracted. I was like, anyways, there's always something fun during the live stream, right?
All right, back to the questions. Question here: what is better, coconut core or seed starter soil? They are both going to work well. Seed starter soil is going to save you time, and coconut core is going to save you money. So it's up to you which one you want to save, but you can you can make it yourself with coconut core. You probably want to mix coconut core with a little bit of vermiculite though. You don't want to do this coconut core by itself. I wouldn't recommend. I would do a little bit of vermiculite to help with moisture control and stuff, and help with drainage. Coconut core is better than peat moss in that aspect, though, if you use it by yourself. So it will work by itself, but typically we try and add some vermiculite. We also add some worm castings into it as well. That's another thing you can do if you're going to make it yourself. If you're going to make it yourself, you might as well commit to it and get some worm castings. But if you're going to buy it, just go with the Espoma seed starter stuff I showed earlier. And that's usually what we're doing for seed starting. I'm spending my time on the soil that the plant's going to live in most of its life instead of the soil it's going to live in for 2 weeks, is the way I look at it. So, and seeds are going to have everything that plant needs for the first couple rounds of photosynthesis anyway. It doesn't really need any fertilizer until it's got a couple sets of true leaves. So that's where the worm castings come in. Is once it needs a little bit of fertilizer, it's got it, and worm castings are sterile. So, and I don't really have a great recommendation on where to get worm castings because we make it ourselves. We have a worm farm in our garage that we make worm castings from. I have been known to buy worm castings off of Craigslist. Again, I'm dating myself with Craigslist references, but that really interesting worm farmer once in Oklahoma that had like a whole garage of worm farms, and he was very excited about it. That's another story for another day.
So on the topic of worm castings, how do we use our worm castings in the garden? So just like Dale said, I mean, our primary use for worm castings is for seed starting. Typically out in the garden itself, we don't typically add in worm castings just
Just
because.
like at the time of planting, we'll put it like in the hole with tomatoes or something,
Yes.
but not like on top of the soil. That's just going
Yeah.
into whatever it is we're planting.
Yeah. Yeah, cuz we have like other sources, like we have rabbits and like things like that, and we also just buy compost too. You can make your own compost for whenever we're dealing with larger areas in the garden. But yeah, we primarily use our worm castings whenever we're seed starting or transplanting, things like that, because we have a limited amount of that.
Question again about worm castings. What's the best way to answer this? Maybe make it 20% of your mix, tops. 10 to 20% of your mix. So I think that's the best way to answer that. So it's going to depend on how much of a mix you're making, but I'm just trying to approximate it generally. I'm trying to keep it like 10 to 20% of what I'm doing. Yeah, and so the Worm Factory 360 is the one we have too. And that thing's like 10 years old. So it's been
Yeah.
through several moves, and yeah, it's held up well.
It works great. We even got our daughter at the time a little shirt that said "Worm Farmer" because she loved helping us so much. And there, like, it was just the cutest picture. I have a picture of her wearing it and holding some worms next to the worm factory. So fun.
One of the cool things about worm farming is it gives you a place for all of your junk mail to go that doesn't feel wasteful. So obviously you don't want to use anything that's like shiny paper or whatever, but there's plenty of stuff coming in that's on like flat matte paper. So we just run all that through a shredder, and then that becomes the bedding for the worms. and then we use just like whatever food scraps to feed them. It's a very cheap operation. The real only real cost is just buying the system and then buying the worms. Now you can make your own systems. We've done it with totes and stuff like that in the past too. Those all work fine as well. So maybe we should do something about worm farming here soon. There's been a lot of
Yeah.
questions.
Say
Oh,
Paige beat you to
yeah.
it. Said yes, I would love to see
Yeah.
a live stream about how to make worm castings. Okay, we have a question here from JC. I think my pepper seedlings have mold. I sprinkled cinnamon on them. I'll move them when I get home. Is this okay? Yeah, absolutely. This is my go-to method too. Whenever I have any sort of mold issues, I love this method because it always works super well. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect method. Good job.
The so potatoes and grow bags, we do essentially heal them. So what this means is we will start by filling up the smart pots about halfway with soil, and then we'll plant the potatoes down a couple of inches like that. And then as they grow, then we'll continue to add soil until we get to the very top. So, and we've always had a ton of success with potatoes and smart pots. It's one of our favorite things to grow. It's a fun way to involve your kids because we'll grow in the smart pots and then we dump them out into a wheelbarrow and it's like an Easter egg hunt for them to find all the potatoes, and
It
it's one
is
of the
super
few
fun.
ways we can still get our kids excited about the garden after all these years. Um, they're still excited to dig for potatoes, um, not pull weeds. They don't like doing that anymore, but that's not fun. But it is a search for potatoes. So
They always want to go out there and harvest. That is every single day they want to know, is there something we can go harvest? That's what they
yeah,
want to do.
you can harvest weeds, and they fell for it once. Okay, and then
Well, no,
okay.
they actually do sometimes because I'm like, let's go feed your chickens and or the rabbits and let's go get them some fresh greens and fresh things from the garden and
Yeah.
yeah.
Question here from John. So there's not a way to export to PDF or print right now, but Carrie, can you add that to your list you've got going of stuff we want to do on the app? Um,
Yes.
cool. We just put out an update this past week, and we were a little bit blocked until we got that update out because there was a lot of stuff we had to do behind the scenes to get the app in a state where we could push out an update. So um, we just got that update out. It added a number of like really like if I could explain to y'all the amount of improvements on the back end, y'all would not believe me, but it should be dramatically faster now. It should perform better, especially on like slower devices, things like that. We did a whole lot on that front to modernize it and kind of get it up to modern day on that front. So we also added in, we fixed some other bugs. There was a bug related to scanning a seed packet, not filling in details. We got that fixed. And we're in a position now where we can start putting out more updates again. So if you guys have suggestions on things like this, that something like that isn't going to be a major thing for us to build into the app. It's not going to take a ton of development work. It's something I think we could do relatively easy. So keep sending your ideas over, and then we'll get them added to our list. And we're hoping to be able to get more regular updates out again. So I'm not going to go further much down the elaboration of where we were, but I'm very excited about this update we got out, and we'd love to hear from y'all. If y'all notice a difference in the app, does it feel faster? Is there like anything at all feedback wise? A lot changed in that update, so we'd love to hear the good, the bad, or the otherwise on what you guys think about it.
Um, can you talk super quick again about the potatoes in the grow bags?
Yeah.
Um,
So what we do is we take a smart pot, usually a 25-gallon one, like one of their bigger ones with handles. You really want handles for this one. And then we fill it about halfway with soil. And then we plant the potatoes all around, usually 5 or 6 potatoes in one of those smart pots. And we'll have 3 or 4 inches between each potato, probably. And then we'll cover that with a little bit of soil because you don't want to have those potatoes exposed to the sun. And then as they grow, probably every week, every couple weeks. Um, you don't want to like let them grow too. You don't want to like wait a month and then do this necessarily because it just doesn't go as well as if you kind of keep up with it every week or two with filling it. But basically, you're going to keep adding soil to that smart pot until the soil is all the way at the top, and then you just let it be a potato and just do a thing. And then you'll get potatoes, and typically for us, it's around June. it'll be different for everyone, but usually for us, that's around the time we're harvesting our potatoes. And yeah.
Danny was saying, I'm not familiar with the cinnamon thing. Can you explain it, please? So, cinnamon is an amazing, like, antifungal. Like, it just it works really well for, like, if you have any issues with like fungus or mold or anything like that on top of your seedlings. I just come in with some cinnamon, like literally just cinnamon from the store. We get a big thing of it, and I just go through and sprinkle it, and it really helps. Like, it is amazing at that.
Question here about if it's potato planting time. So, for a large part of the country, you can pretty much go off of St. Patrick's Day, but that's not the same for everywhere, obviously. So, depending on where you are, it's going to be different. Where we are, it's St. Patrick's Day is when we plant potatoes. But check out the app because it'll give you exact dates.
I was gonna say, let's pull up potatoes and see. It'll give you exact dates right down here on when you should be planting them.
Today, oh, I guess it's the 17th. I saw a 7.
We're getting close.
And then CJ.
Yeah, while I was here,
Oh,
yes.
real quick,
Yeah.
yes, the update is out on Android also. So, and we have another update we'll be pushing out today to fix a bug that we found where you're not able to install on some Android devices if there's no GPS like on the device. So we're pushing that out today for Android as well.
Oh, sorry. It moved as I was trying to. Nope. Where did you go? There we go. So Danny was saying that, let me pull up here. Generalized notes for the garden.
Oh, for the entire garden, not a specific garden.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, like if you go up to notes from there, but that makes it salsa garden though. I think
Yes.
notes at like an overall just
So, like,
notes.
for every single one that's in here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll add that, or I'll add that to the list. But yeah, so for me, I mean, a lot of these, like, I have like my indoor seed starting areas. I have areas that are out here in the sunroom. I have outside ones. So I usually just like come to this one and I come up here to notes and I'll say, yeah, like right here, opened vents, removed lid, because it applies to every single one of them in the entire garden. So yeah. Okay. We have anything else? I haven't.
I thought you were doing that, so I wasn't.
I was on the other screen, so.
I think.
Actually, this is a good question. Is the update on the website too?
No, I need to do that too. I
Okay, I
saw
was gonna say I don't think so because I saw some
the
things.
Growbot was still because we have a new UI on Growbot too. I saw the old UI there, so I need to push it out on there.
Yeah. Okay.
Got another question on potatoes here. So summer potatoes from last year looking pretty wrinkly and they have sprouts. I mean, I would go ahead and try. It may not do as well as a fresh one, but it'll probably. I mean, potatoes are so resilient, and we've had so many potato plants come up from just a tiny sliver of a potato that was left in a smart pot or something that ended up growing from there. So I would try it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not necessarily right now. Like I don't know if you can put it outside right now, but I would at least get it in soil inside and let it start developing. And then once it's time to get it outside, you can get it outside.
Okay. Yes, they are all coming out on Android as well. So Android already does have an update too. So if your phone automatically updates, you should be good. But I love this kitchen mini zucchini. I would absolutely love that idea. I love it. Yeah, I would totally be on board. I mean, there's the kitchen mini cucumbers, so why not, right? Okay. Have you planted watermelon and cantaloupe with corn?
I think so. I think we did that in the past. You can basically treat it like a Three Sisters situation. So if you're not familiar with Three Sisters, it's this concept from the Native Americans on how they planted a lot of food, which was basically planting corn and then a few weeks later planting beans around the base of the corn, and then the beans would grow up the corn stalks. Excuse me. And then they would plant something like squash around the base of the corn on the corners, and then let it kind of sprawl through and keep weeds from growing around the corn. And then so you could do that same thing with watermelon and cantaloupe. Now, watermelon and cantaloupe are way more aggressive with their tendrils, though, so you might want to be careful on it, like pulling the corn down, because it's a little different than, I guess, some of the squash is the same way, though. Those pumpkins do that too, so it'd probably work fine. Yeah, that
They're
should work
pretty
fine.
strong. They seem to be, at least for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, while Dale has been talking, I went ahead and did a drawing. And so we have a giveaway winner for a free 1 year premium Seed to Spoon app subscription, where you get to send your photos up to Growbot for help with plant identifications, pest identifications. You get unlimited access to make as many garden beds, as many plants as you want to. You'll get free shipping on all of your orders through Park Seed. So congratulations to Benermi. Hopefully I said that right. Email us at info@seedtospoon.net and we'll get you all hooked up. So congratulations.
And I see this comment here from LJ. So LJ, email us at info@seedtospoon.net, or reach out through support in the app, and we'll figure out what's going on there. We
Yeah.
had this happened to someone last week too, and they had accidentally deleted gardens instead of. I'm not saying you did that. I'm just saying that we had this happen last week. We are able to get it all back, so we should be able to get whatever you had back. So just email us in, and we'll look into it.
Dale, do you have any recommendations for this? This might be an Edvin question.
Yeah, um, it's been a while since I've dealt with it, so I don't remember. This is where I go to ChatGPT though.
Here you go. So we might have had somebody pop in. I tend to collect rainwater to offset my hard water for my plants. Nice. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining today. This was a fun one. I know we had a lot of garden questions. Hopefully, we got everybody's questions answered and all of that. But yeah, like I said, if you guys have any other questions too, I mean, you can feel free to message us or use Growbot too. Growbot is an amazing, amazing help, even for us. So yeah, awesome.
Thanks for
Well,
hanging.
yeah, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you again next week. Same time, same place.